Is owning a home still the Canadian dream, or is renting actually the smarter play in 2026? Hi, I'm Mallentino, a real estate agent and investor based in Toronto and the Durham region. Today we're diving into one of the biggest financial questions ever in real estate. Should you rent or buy a home? Now, if you're stuck deciding whether to rent or buy this year, the wrong choice could cost you hundreds of thousands. Let's figure out what's right for you. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools and knowledge to make the best decisions for your financial situation and lifestyle. Whether you're a first-time buyer, an investor, or simply weighing your options, this video is for you. We'll cover the current landscape, the true cost of buying, the financial reality of renting, financial analysis on renting versus buying, and lifestyle factors to consider. Before we dive in, do you want an extra $50,000 in your pocket? Then don't forget to hit that like button and get a free buyer's guide that shows you how you can save up to $50,000 when you buy your next property in the description. Understanding the current market landscape. First, it's no secret that housing prices in Canada have become very expensive relative to the income levels. Many people find it challenging to enter the market, especially in major cities like Toronto. This is a trend we've seen developing over the past few years. Secondly, we've seen lower mortgage application rates recently. This is partly because of rising interest rates. As the cost of borrowing money increases, fewer people are applying for mortgages and some are choosing to stay out of the market completely. Another significant factor is the limited housing supply across many parts of Canada. When there are fewer homes available than people who want to buy, prices tend to increase, which further impacts affordability. Although right now in the market we are seeing some changes, these factors lead to a very important question. Does owning a home align with your goals at this stage of your life? What might have worked for your parents or grandparents might not be the right move for you. Now that we've set the stage, let's break down the real cost of buying versus renting in Canada. The true cost of buying a home in Canada. Buying a home isn't just about matching your rent to your mortgage. It's much more than a mortgage payment. And a mortgage payment is not the cost of a home. There are many costs involved, some that you will see right away and others that might surprise you. Breaking down the cost, you have your down payment. This is the initial amount of money you'll need up front. In Canada, the minimum down payment for homes under $1 million, you need at least 5% of the first $500,000 and 10% of the portion between $500K to $1 million. It's important to note that for homes over 1.5, the minimum down payment is 20%. And remember, these rules were updated in December 2024, so you need to be aware of the current regulations. Next, you have mortgage payments, which include both the principal, which is the amount you borrowed, and the interest, the cost of borrowing the money. It is important to know that in the first years of your mortgage, a larger portion of your payment will go towards the interest than the principal. Over time, this will change. If your down payment is less than 20%, you also have to pay for mortgage insurance. This protects the lender if you can't make your payments, but it's an additional cost for you, often between 2.8 and 4% of your total mortgage. Now, we have other costs. They're the most obvious costs, such as property tax that you need to pay every year, and home insurance, which protects your property against damage and other risks. And you also need to think about maintenance. Experts often suggest setting aside 1 to 3% of your home's value annually for these costs, and you might even need more if you buy an older home. This includes everything from fixing a leaky faucet to dealing with unexpected issues like a broken HVAC system or roof replacement. Do not forget closing costs. These can range from 1 to 6% of the home value and will include things like appraisal fees, title insurance, legal fees, and bank fees. And if you're buying a condo or property in a homeowners association, you will also need to factor in potential HOA or condo fees. Many people overlook these costs when making the decision to buy, and they add up quickly. So it's important to account for them all when deciding to buy a home. It is not enough to just compare the mortgage payment to what you would pay in rent. It is essential that you consider all of these expenses and factor them into your decision-making process. The financial reality of renting. Now let's shift our focus to renting. Renting is often dismissed as throwing money away, but let's change that myth and take a closer look at the financial reality of renting in Canada, because it might be better than buying. One of the main benefits of renting is the predictable cost. Your main expense is your rent payment each month. which makes it easier to budget and plan your finances. Unlike homeowners, renters do not have to deal with unexpected costs of homeownership, such as the down payment, closing costs, property tax, mortgage insurance, or fluctuating interest rates. There's also avoid many of the hidden costs of homeownership, like maintenance and repairs. When something breaks in a rental, it's usually the landlord's responsibility to fix it, saving you both time and money. Another often overlooked aspect is that some rental buildings or apartment include amenities like gyms, pools, or common areas that might reduce your need to pay extra for those services. On the other hand, it is important to acknowledge that rents can increase over time, particularly if you live in a market that isn't rent controlled. The lack of stability in your monthly payments if you live in one of these parts can be a major drawback for renting. Also, unlike owning a home, when you rent, you're not building equity. Your rent payment goes towards your landlord's income and does not provide you with a return on your rent or your investment, which is probably the biggest con of renting. Although the money saved from not buying would be better invested in the market, because on average, the stock market outpaces real estate in terms of long-term returns. Renting can offer financial stability in the short term because you'll know exactly what your monthly housing expenses will be. However, long-term planning is essential to make the most of it. While you're not building equity in a property, you can invest your money in other ways. It is important to consider all of the pros and cons and weigh them carefully against your personal goals and financial circumstances. So, how do you really compare the financial implications of renting versus buying? The answer lies in the numbers, but is not as simple as comparing a mortgage payment to rent. We need to consider all of the costs, unrecoverable costs and rules. To make an accurate comparison, we need to focus on unrecoverable costs, the money that you will never get back in either renting or owning. For renters, this is mainly your rent payment, right? But for homeowners, it's a combination of property taxes, maintenance costs, mortgage interest, and the opportunity cost of your down payment. To help you get a clearer picture, we'll introduce a simple rule. You can use either the 5% or the more recent 8.71% rule to help you calculate the monthly cost of homeownership. The 5% rule suggests that you take the value of the home you're considering, multiply it by 5%, and then divide by 12. The resultant number will give you the estimate monthly cost of homeownership that you can compare to your monthly rent. For example, a $500,000 home would have approximately $2,083 in monthly unrecoverable costs according to the 5% rule. The 8.71% rule by Humphrey Yang, inspired by Ben Felix's 5% rule, is a more recent take on this calculation and takes into consideration higher interest rates and the opportunity cost of investing your down payment, which I love. According to this rule, you multiply the home price by 8.71% and then divide by 12 to get the total monthly cost. The 8.71% is derived from property taxes, maintenance costs, and the cost of capital, which considers the opportunity cost of the down payment and the cost of debt. For example, if you have a $750K home, you would multiply that by 8.71, which gives you $65,325 as the estimated annual cost of ownership. Then divide that number by 12 to arrive at an estimated monthly cost of $5,443.75. This is what you would then compare to your monthly rent. These rules simplify the comparison between renting and owning by focusing on unrecoverable costs, expenses you can't get back like rent for renters or property tax, maintenance, and the cost of capital for homeowners. While not accounting for every factor, they provide a helpful starting point to assess whether renting or owning is more financially advantageous based on monthly cost. From our last example, with $5,000 and some change is less than your rent of $4,000, it may be that renting is the smarter choice. The reason I love the 8.71 rule is because it factors in the opportunity cost of investing that down payment, for example. Let's simplify with a rent versus buy calculator. In this particular case, this shows me that if I stay in a home for longer than 5.8 years, it's cheaper to buy than rent. These calculators are super helpful for factoring in things like purchase price, down payment, mortgage rates, and how long you plan to stay. Want to try it yourself? I've linked the tool in the description. Go check it out down there with some other free tools as well. Ultimately, there is no one size fits all answer to the question whether to rent or buy. The right decision for you depends on your personal circumstances. On your own numbers using these tools, and to get a personalized answer that suits your need, reach out to me in the description below. Let me share my personal perspective on this. Just to be clear, this isn't final advice. That said, if you're in a position to buy a property and you're not planning to put that money into any other investment vehicle as a primary objective, then I think buying is the way to go. Here's why. Real estate in many cases can be a great way to build equity and create stability in your life. Renting is also great, especially if flexibility is your top priority. But when you own a property, you have leverage and build equity. That's exactly what I decided to do. I was in a position where I could buy my own place, and instead of letting that money sit idle and go into other, places, I chose to put it into real estate. For me, it was the right decision because it aligned with my goal and gave me a sense of stability that I needed. Something to take note though is that homes are a depreciating asset that costs money. Land appreciates, but a building degrades. That's why you need maintenance for properties. And if it's purely numbers, you'd probably make more renting and investing all your surplus money. Multiple papers model rent versus buy scenarios and concluded that renting and investing, the difference can beat homeownership in the long run, but only if the renter actually invests consistently. Also, research in behavioral finance shows that people tend to spend surplus money instead of investing it unless systems are automated. So for the numbers, in most cities, rent and invest, but if you know you are not going to invest in stocks and ETFs diligently, look at buying. Let's be real. This decision isn't solely about money, it's personal. When you are thinking about buying, it's more than just an investment. It's about having a sense of stability, the freedom to make a space your own and build memories in a place that's truly yours. Want to renovate it, paint the walls, whatever you want, it's yours to shape how you like. Renting gives you flexibility. You can pick up and move when life changes, whether it's a new job, a new city, or just want a fresh start without the stress of selling a home. Plus, you're not the one dealing with leaky roof or unexpected repair bills. Someone else gets to handle that. So ask yourself, do you love the idea of settling down in one place and making it yours? Or do you prefer the freedom to move and avoid the responsibility of home maintenance? Are you staying put for the long haul, or is mobility a big priority for you right now? At the end of the day, the decision to rent or buy is about way more than numbers. It's about aligning yourself with where you are in life and where you're headed before you make that call. Take a step back and think about these lifestyle factors. That way, you're not just making a financial decision, you're making the decision that's right for you. We've covered a lot today: financial implications, lifestyle factors, and what it really means, to be ready to buy a home. If you're ready to take the next step, you can also check out my video, 7 Steps to Buying a Property, where I've walked you through the entire process of purchasing your first home in Canada. Don't miss it out. See you later.